Jagacharya Chittana Sadasyaman Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Girivardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, all glories to Gurudev, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, you're all welcome. Sri Salika Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Now, check your microphone, Prabhuji.
Okay now?
Yes.
Good.
Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you. So, of course, you're welcome. You're welcome to your familiar terrain. Speaking Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
So we're going to put the verse on the screen and we may start.
Okay.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayana Namaskritam Narayachaivam Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tatujayam Huriraye Nasta Aprayeshu Bhadrishu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistike Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Reading from SRIMAD Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, chapter 16, text number 11. Swalakritam syamam turanga yojitam ratam rijendra dwajam asrita purat vrito rataswa dvipapti yuktayaha swasenaya dvijayaya narigataha swalankritam swamam turanga yojitam Ratam Brijendra Dwajam Asritam Purat Vrito Rataswa Dvipapati Yuktaya Swasenaya Dvijaya Ya Nrigata Swala Kritam Syamam Turanga Yujitam Ratam Brijendra Dwajam Asrita Purat Vritorata Swa Dvipapati Yuktasyaha Swasinaya Dvijaya Nrigata. Word for translation. Su ala kritam very well decorated. Shama, black. Uranga, horses. Yojitam, tackled. Ratam, chariot. Brigandra, lion. Dwya Jaham, flagged. Asritaha, under the protection, Purat, from the capital. Vrata, surrounded by. Vrata, charioteers. Aswaha, cavalry, Ripapati, elephants. Yuktayaha, those being equipped. Swasenaya, along with infantry. Vijayaya, for the purpose of conquering. Nirigataha, went out. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Silabai Charana Vindesi Bhaktivinoda Swami Prabhupada Jai. Maharaj Parikshit sat on a chariot drawn by black horses. His flag was marked with the sign of a lion. Being so decorated and surrounded by charioteers, cavalry, elephants, and infantry, soldiers, he left the capital to conquer in all directions. Purport by His Divine Grace Prabhupada. Maharaj Parikshit is distinguished from his grandfather Arjun, for black horses pulled his chariots instead of white horses. He marked his flag with the mark of a lion, and his grandfather marked his with the mark of Hanumanji. A royal procession like that of a Maharaj Parikshit, surrounded by well-decorated chariots, cavalry, elephants, infantry, and band, not only is pleasing to the eyes, but also a sign of civilization that is aesthetic, even on the fighting front. Hare Krishna. Om Gyanam Timirandasya Gyanam Gyanam Chala Akaya Shaksho Militam Natasmai Shri Gurave Nama Sri Chaitanya Manubit Vandhyam Sri Guru Sri Yutta Padam Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganam Ragunatam Vitam Tam Saajivam Sadvitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Saganam Lalita Sri Vicha Kavitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Shindu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Namo Shuchem Tapta Kanchana Gaurangira Devinda Vaneshwari Ushabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Nari Priye Mokankaroti Vachalam Pangam Lagayati Girim Yat Kripat Anvande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Vanchakarpataru Vyascha Kripas Indubhyas Evascha Patitanam Pavashnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama Jai Sri Krishna Jai Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaivam Narottama Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tatujayam. By reciting this SRIMAD Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful presence to the personality of God. Narayan unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of Bani, unto Sri Shavasadi, the author. It is said by regular attendance in classes on SRIMAD Bhagavatam, by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is completely destroyed, and loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental song, is established as an irrevocable fact. Hare Krishna. So, dear devotees, I offer my respectful obeisances to all of you who are gathered on this platform today for the daily ritual of SRIMAD Bhagavatam. Srila Rupa Goswami instructed. In the nectar of instruction, Srila Prabhupada said that all members of ISKCON movement, our International Society for Krishna Consciousness, are Rupanugas, our followers in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami. And he said that as one who is a follower of Srila Rupa Goswami, our utmost duty is to engage in 5 activities daily. And one of those essential activities of one who is to be identified or be called a Krishna conscious person is to daily recite the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. So this auspicious moment is the fulfillment of our dedication, our vow to the process of Krishna consciousness, both individually and collectively. So I thank you all for giving me this another opportunity to speak and hear from notable devotees this transcendental medication for one who is about to die. It is said that Srimad Bhagavatam, based on the questions of the sages of Misarian, they asked 6 questions. And Maharaj Parikshit asked 2 questions, which summarizes the 6 questions of the sages of Misarian. And the number 1 question he said is that, what is the good? What is the common activity that is good for all human beings, irrespective of where they're coming from, who they are? And he asked the 2nd question, what is the duty of a person who is about to die? So this Srimad Bhagavatam is the answer to the 2nd question and the 1st one simultaneously, because the good for all human beings, irrespective of who they are, is to hear and listen to Srimad Bhagavatam. And for one who is about to die, this Srimad Bhagavatam is same, the essence. So sometimes when this is mentioned, people who are not very familiar with Srimad Bhagavatam will wonder, we don't want to die. We're serving God because we want to live. But for one to live, one has to die, because there is no life without death, as long as we're in the material world. So of course, the living entity has nothing like death. The soul has no death or birth. But for one who has taken material body, who has appeared in this material world, in this body, for him, death is certain when he has taken his birth. So this Srimad Bhagavatam recitation, hearing and speaking, is a medication for those who are about to die, because we are eventually all going to die. Time is different, but eventually we're all going to die. So it is essential that we take this medicine, which is guaranteed, which is tested and proven. In the life of Americans, when you prescribe something for a medication for an American, typical American will tell you, have you used it before? If you said, I have not used it before, then he said, no, then I cannot take it. But if you said, yes, I've taken this and it worked for me, even if he's not sure whether it's going to work for him, an American man will take a trial. Say, well, if it works for you, it may work for me too. So this Srimad Bhagavatam has been tested. The sages of Misarian, Maharaj Parikshit, they tested this medication. Our previous acharya, they tested this medication and they got victory. So for us also, victory is guaranteed by this process of hearing and speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. So I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity, another opportunity to speak Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we're reading from the continuation of discussion from chapter 16 of the 1st canto, text especially number 11, where it is a continuation of discussion from the previous verse, where there is a description of Sutta Goswami when he said that Maharaj Parikshit, who was residing in the capital of Kuru Empire, he heard about the symptom of age of Kali infiltrating within the jurisdiction of his state. And when he heard this, he didn't take it as a palatable news. Immediately, he gave up the chance, everything that he was doing, and he rode on his chariot. He took up his bow and arrows, and he prepared himself for military activities. That is the background of the text that we are reading today. And when he stood up, Sutta Goswami continued to narrate to us that it did not just stand up. He was explaining the significance of his standing and how he stood. It is said that the dress describes the way, in manner in which someone is addressed. If someone dressed shabbily, even when he is a very wonderful or powerful personality, he is addressed shabbily. So in the ancient times, and even in modern times, people are addressed based on the way they dress themselves. So Sutta Goswami is giving the significance of the preparedness, the dressing, the rising of Maharaj Parikshit in this verse we're reading today. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada was explaining that Maharaj Parikshit, while sitting on the chariot drawn by black horses, and his flag was marked with the sign of a lion, and he was surrounded by charioteers, cavalry, elephants, and infantry. In the purport, Prabhupada said, in this purport that we're reading, Prabhupada particularly explained the distinguishing factor or this difference between this is dressing, is coming out, and that of his predecessor or his grandfather, Arjun. That is the focus of Srila Prabhupada in this purport. And it's very significant because, like I said, a person is addressed based on the way he dressed. Arjun, when he was going to the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was drawn by white horses. And this has a meaning. Although we may not be as powerful as the people of the ancient time, the Vedic age are, but even now, even in our dreams, when we see certain things, they signifies, because of our lower quality in Kali Yuga, we cannot see so many signs. In the previous chapters, we have read about signs when Maharaj Yudhishthira was explaining the symptoms of the sign he was seeing when Arjun was about to come back. So the emphasis on the horse and the symbol on the flag is very significant. According to Vedic astrology, white horses, when one is a white horse, it signifies, or it symbolizes devotion. It symbolizes endurance, tolerance, awareness. Above, it naturally it symbolizes success. And that was the horse that Arjun was riding. In other words, from the horses that Arjun came into the battlefield of Kurukshetra with, it was already symbolizing that he is destined for success. Just like if a man in today's world is going to go for a very important interview, and he dressed in a jeans and t-shirt, when he gets to the interviewer, when the interviewer looks at him, even though he might be having the qualification, he will look at this person and say, this person cannot represent this organization because he's not well dressed. So the symbol that one carries, the dressing that one carries, has a lot of significance. But Maharaj Parikshit was driving a black horse. And that signifies something very important also. When one is seen on a white horse, on a black horse, sorry, two things are explained as a symptom, according to Vedic astrology. Someone sitting on the black horse means that such a person It's going to be successful, but before success, it's going to go through a whole lot of challenges. In other words, success will not come just truly. And so many Vedic astrologers have also expanded the scope of knowledge of the war sources. Even when we see these horses in the dream, just by seeing a white horse in the dream, it has its very significance. And when one is in a dream, he sees a black horse, also it signifies that there is going to be success, but then failure will, there's going to be a big challenge ahead. And that is what happened to Maharaj Parikshit. Because Maharaj Parikshit was going out and he met the personality of Kali. And something happened. And that was what led to the curse of Maharaj Parikshit, which brings about the end of his body. His pastimes on the earth. But at the end of it all, he was successful because at the end, he attained the supreme personal, the chapter of the lotus feet of the supreme personality of Godhead. So the ox is riding on, signify, and Prabhupada mentioned that there's a distinguishing. Arjun, when he went to the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he won the war and he came back. Parikshit Maharaj, when he went out with this in this battle, he went at the end of it. His material body was lost, but he succeeded because the ultimate goal was attained. So these things has their significance, and in the text itself, the symbol on his flag is mentioned. When you look at the symbol on the flag of Arjuna, it was Hanumanji. But on the flag of Maharaj Parikshit, it said here that it was drawn by lion. And this lion is not just an ordinary lion. Prabhupada explained that this is not just an ordinary lion. Of course, lion is ferocious. But Prabhupada said, this particular lion signifies, it's actually not just an ordinary, it's actually talking about Nara Hari himself, Lord Nrsimhadev, Brigendra. This is what Prabhupada explained, this sign on the flag of Maharaj Parikshit. That this flag, this horse on this flag of Maharaj Parikshit is not just an ordinary lion, but it's actually Lord Nrsimhadev himself sitting there, signifying protection for Maharaj Parikshit. In other words, Maharaj Parikshit went through a challenge on that endeavor, but because he was having the protection of the Lord at the end of it all, he was victorious because he attained the ultimate goal of life. When we look at the overall text and title of this chapter we're reading, it is talking about how Maharaj Parikshit embraces the age of Kali. And this is what is very important for us. Because according to the level of the consciousness of a living entity, his approach to whatever happens in his life is determined by that level of consciousness. Of course, the Lord and his devotees, they have only one business. When they come into this material world, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna has established, he explains his purpose of coming into the material world. As he says, Yada Yada Idamasya Glani Bhavati Bharat. Abhutanam Adamasya, Sadatmanam Srijamyaham. Whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious principle and activities, at that time I descend to this material world. So when there was a discrepancy, when there was the manifestation of inauspiciousness as a result of Kali Yuga, Maharaj Parikshit, being a pure devotee of the Lord, also stood up. And what does the Lord do when he comes? Parichanaya sadhuna vinasaya duskitam. Dama samstapanataya sambhavami juge juge. The Lord, to give pleasure to the devotees, to remove the miscreants, as well as to reestablish principles, millennium after millennium he descends. So in the same way, Maharaj Parikshit, when there was a discrepancy, he appeared in the scene. And by all of the activities of Maharaj Parikshit, he established the Dharma, which is celebrated all over the Vedic scriptures for this age, for those who are born in Kali Yuga. And what is that Dharma that Maharaj Parikshit established? There are 9 processes of Bhakti as given by Lord Maharaj. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. This is the key to getting successful in Kali Yuga. But for one to be able to take this medication, for one to be able to take this medicine, for one to take this solution to the age of Kali, in this same canto, when we go to the next chapter, or chapter 17, 18, we will see where it is mentioned by Sukadeva Goswami that there is no better activity for anyone who is born in this age of Kali. In this age, there is nothing that is more valuable, that is not effective in this age, more than the hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is what Maharaj Parikshit establishes by his activities of going into the bath. But how one receives, how one relates, how one manages, and how one uses what Maharaj Parikshit gave by his life exemplary act. Just like the Lord comes, he plays pastime to attract us for one common goal, to go back to God. Maharaj Parikshit's pastime also gives us the essence, the key, the solution to going back to God, which is the goal of human life. But according to our different level of consciousness, based on our different level of consciousness, we become susceptible, or we receive Kali Yuga with all of its difficulties based on our level of consciousness. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gave us 5 different levels of consciousness that living entities can be, starting from Anmaya, which is the base level. On the platform of Anmaya, the living entity at that point, the living entities, God is his senses. Whatever the living entity is doing at that age is driven by his senses, nothing else. So for him, who is in Anmaya, Anmaya means the stage of eating. I'll share a screen that explains this, and I will explain that. At the most lowest level of the first living entities is when he's in the Anmaya stage. And at that level, his senses is God, is his God. He doesn't see anything. He doesn't see anything more than the senses. Whatever he does is driven by his senses. So for such a person, his senses is God. And his whole life is based on his sense perception. He's like the animal. In other words, in fact, he's called like, although he's a human being, it's an animalistic level of life. It's an animalistic level of life because whatever he does, he is thinking based on what the senses dictates to him. And in the Vedic Dhanashram system, is at the lowest level, is called a Shudra, because all his activities is driven by what the senses, all the senses dictate to him. All he wants to do is enjoy. He simply acts under the influence of the lowest mode of material nature, which is ignorance. And when one is fortunate, if by the grace of the Lord is able to rise above the Anmaya level of consciousness, or at that state where he sees the senses as the driver of his life, he comes to the second stage of level of consciousness, which is described as pranamaya. At the level of pranamaya, the living entity is consideration of God at that level. It's powerful human beings on the earth planet. He will do anything and everything to worship the powerful men. And such a person, they are psychopaths. They only relate to anything that will increase their material well-being. So for such a person, so Bhaktivinoda says is actually is God is the powerful human being on the earth. And his goal is one thing. He has no other thing more than economic development. Every of his life is directed. Whatever he does, if he does not increase his financial situation, he does not engage in them. But such a person sometimes, because it's above the Anmaya level, is a little bit moral in his activities, and so therefore, such a person, he feels that the world, everyone can be happy only if he himself is happy. He engages in all kinds of morality, charity activities, but all is based on what? On himself. And his religion is economic development. Such a person is driven by the combination of the most of ignorance and passion. And when one is able to rise above this level of consciousness, they come to the third stage of level of consciousness, which Bhaktivinoda could describe as Gyanamaya or Manamaya, or mental state of elevation of consciousness. And such a person, he knows that there is God. He realizes that there is God. He knows that God exists. But he has no clear picture of who God is. So he engages in mundane religiosity. And such a person will kill others just to protect what it is considered to be religious. So if he's a fanatic, such a person, whether he's a Muslim or he's a Christian, he's a Hindu, he's a Vaishnava, whatever he is fanatical. Whatever he accepts at that level as his religion, he's so fanatical about it to the extent that he can kill, because for him, religion is God. So he has to, everything has to be based on what his understanding or perception of religion is. And such a person, according to Bhaktivinoda, is hovering between the influence of the most of goodness and passion, because it's engaged in religious activities. There are some level of mode of goodness that manifest sometimes in such a person. But most of the time, those mode of goodness activities or religious activities is covered by passion or the mode of passion. So such a person will not attain the ultimate goal of life. And when one is fortunate, it grows above that. Bhaktivinoda says that it comes to Vijnana level, or Vijnana. Now he sees knowledge as the ultimate goal. And for him, he has gone beyond religiosity. He's not so, although he has religious activities with him, but his passion is about liberation or salvation. He realizes that economic development, sense gratification, mundane religiosity is not going to give ultimate happiness. So he's looking after liberation. Sometimes you find kind of class of persons as a Brahmana. They're very sastric. They know the scriptures in and out. But their ultimate realization is focused on liberation or salvation. Some of these people who are, if they are fortunate to be in the house of the Vedic scriptures, they become impersonalists. If they are in the Western religiosity, they are looking for salvation or liberation. This class of persons who has come to this level of consciousness, they are driven by the most of goodness. But for them, they will not attain the ultimate goal. They will not attain Krishna because why? Their goal is not Krishna. It is still sense gratification, but at the highest level of sense gratification. Because at that level, does such a person, they realize that they are spirits, so they're not the material body. They've come to the level of above the mundane religiosity, which is still based on bodily conception of life. There sometimes you find this kind of people even in our movement, in our international society for Krishna consciousness. Yeah, they've learned by rhetorical study. I'm a spirit soul. I'm not this material body. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But their goal is not to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their interest is what? Simply just for ultimate liberation. They want to get out of this material existence. They are intellectual. Their sadhana sometimes could be very paka. And you can sometimes misunderstand them. If one is not careful enough to be able to study based on the guidance of Srila Bhaktivinoda, you can be thinking that such a person is on the highest level of bhakti or devotion to God. And above that person, which is like Srila Goswami says, the highest level of consciousness, is one who has come to the Ananda Maya's platform. Ananda Maya platform is when one understands Krishna as he is, and he knows the ultimate goal of Krishna. The ultimate goal is Krishna, as described by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 15. He knows that Krishna is the compiler of is the owner, primary owner, the creator of everything. He's the compiler of all the scriptures. He's the goal of all the scriptures. Such a person who is in Krishna consciousness is a Vaishnava. He's not just a Brahmana who is knowledgeable, but he's a Vaishnava. He carries the mood of a Vaishnava. He has all of the qualities of the people at the other lower level of consciousness, but he is higher than that because he understands that the ultimate goal is to please Krishna. Such a person engages in bhakti. Lord Krishna described this kind of a person who has come to this level of consciousness in the chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, text number 54. Brahma Bhuta Prasana Atma Nasu Shakti Nakam Shakti Samasaveshu Bhukteshu Madbhatim Labate Param. That is the level that Maharaj Parishit is exhibiting. That is how Maharaj Parishit has set the age of Kali. Because on that status, he understands that the ultimate goal is to please Krishna. Therefore, he engages his life as an example for others to also attain and please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is why we're sitting down here now, listening to the activities of SRIMAD Bhagavatam. Because Maharaj Parishit, by his activities, by his acceptance of the challenges of Kali Yuga, he understood that the ultimate goal is Krishna. So therefore, he absorbed himself simply in only one activity: hearing, questioning, talking about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. So therefore, the conclusion is that if all of our activities does not conclude, does not end in this hearing of SRIMAD Bhagavatam, remembering SRIMAD Bhagavatam, speaking SRIMAD Bhagavatam to others, then we have a whole long way to go. It means we have not actually begun. Because the state of perfection of life is when one comes to this platform whereby he engages in this activity of Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smarana, which is what Maharaj Parikshit did. That is how Maharaj Parikshit accepted age of Kali. Maharaj Parikshit was so perfect, so equipped that he could do so many things. When the situation faces him, when he saw the personality of Kali, when he was cursed, there are so many other activities he could do. Because he was so potent, so powerful. But he resolved to doing the ultimate activities of pleasing the Supreme Personality of God, because that is the activity of Krishna consciousness. So our Krishna consciousness will become successful, will become perfected, will become glorious when the whole of our life existence is all about hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna and making others to do the same. That is why you see that all of the pure devotees coming down from Narada Muni to Srila Prabhupada, to our present acharyas, they have no other business. They have no other business. Their only business is what? To by their life, practice Krishna consciousness by the process of hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna, and giving others opportunity to do that. So therefore, even if one does not do anything meaningful in a day, if he just simply log onto this platform, either by speaking or hearing this SRIMAD Bhagavatam, then he's engaging in the ultimate activities of the soul. Such a person, just like the previous personalities, Maharaj Parikshit and all others in the line of Parampara, became successful. Such a person is guaranteed success in life. And Krishna promises that one who is constantly, always chanting my glories, to them, as his promises in Chaitanya Bhagavad Gita, to them, I will carry whatever they lack in life. In Kali Yuga, there are so many wantings. There are so many incoherencies in Kali Yuga. But the promise of Krishna is that for one who is constantly, always chanting my glories, whatever it is that is lacking, I will make them available. And whatever is available already, I will protect it. That is the promise of Krishna. So the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam is about to train us this one conclusion, that whatever happens, in whatever situation, no matter how emergent, whatever situation that we find ourselves in, we should create the opportunity for ourselves to hear and speak Srimad Bhagavatam. Hear from the others. That is the whole of the duty of one who is in Krishna consciousness. And our Krishna consciousness will become a success if only we engage in these activities. So Prabhupada explained in the purport that a royal procession like that of Maharaj Parikshit, surrounded by well-decorated chariots, cavalry, infantry, elephant, infantry, and band, not only is pleasing to the eyes, but also a sign of civilization that is aesthetic, even in the fighting front. In other words, Kali Yuga in itself is a war. This war is constantly going on. But if we dress ourselves with the chanting of the name of God, with the hearing of the names of God, the pastimes of the Lord, and giving it to others, then we have attained the ultimate goal of human life. When Krishna concluded in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharma Paritya Mamikam Saranam Braja, Aham Cham Safa Pabibyu, Moksha Mi Syami Master. Krishna is only saying this. There's no other thing. There's no other message in the Bhagavatam. The whole of the Bhagavatam is to give us the opportunity to develop the taste, the affinity for this one activity of hearing, speaking, and remembering SRIMAD Bhagavatam. And as Krishna promised, whatever is lacking in this age, Krishna is ready to provide them just by engaging in these activities. And when one quits his body, is guaranteed ultimate destination. This whole essence, there's no other thing. So when Maharaj Parishi stood up and he dressed himself, his us signifies that in Kali Yuga, as we try to engage in Krishna consciousness, we'll have so many challenges, but victory is guaranteed if we take this process as given by Maharaj Parishit and the previous acharyas. And that is the ultimate conclusion of all revealed scriptures. So today is a beautiful day. It's the beginning of a new month. And it's most auspicious month. Why so auspicious? Because in this month, both the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Krishna, and his primary incarnation, Lord Balaram, is going to appear in just some few days to come. The savior of our soul, the savior of our time, his confounder, Charles Prabhupada, is appearing in this month. So the whole of this month is so fully auspicious that even if one has 1,000 tongues, it's not enough to glorify the opportunity of having to see this month of the Lord's appearance. So my request is that we should all, as we enter into this month of the Lord's appearance, increase our passion for hearing. In the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada explained that this Krishna book is given. The Lord is enacting all of this pastime just to attract us, to save us from the influence of the age of Kali and accepting this material body, which is a lump of ignorance that kills one in the ocean of samsara. So as we meditate on receiving the Lord, as we prepare ourselves for receiving the Param spiritual master, Lord Balaram himself, and as we prepare to receive Srila Prabhupada appearance, and it's so auspicious that also it is in this month that this Krishna consciousness movement, which is the vehicle for going back to Godhead, this is the month in which it was started. So how powerful, how auspicious is this month loaded? So if we ever have understood Krishna consciousness from the time we've joined till date, then we should engage this whole month in hearing, talking, and remembering Krishna the more. And I can guarantee that if we do that, our journey back to God is guaranteed. Hare Krishna. So I would like to stop here so I can give room for interactions, discussions, and comments. And if there are some chastisements also, it is welcome because it is for my purification. So summarily, Maharaj Parishit received the age of Kali by dedicating the whole of his existence to hearing, talking about, and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he attained the ultimate success of pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he went back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, His Grace Salika Prabhu. Thank you for starting the week, which is Monday, and starting the month, which is first. So, devotees, if anyone has question or comment, you may do so by raising your hand. Then His Grace Salika would try to do justice to the question.
By the message of Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah. Prabhuji, I have a question about what is the significance of Arjuna having Hanumanji on his flag and his grandson Maharaj Parikshit having a lion, which, like you said, symbolizes Lord Nrsimhadevi. So, well, why do these warriors use these personalities as like emblems? Is there any significance?
Thank you very much, Simasadi. Yeah, there is a significance. They're not just for show, like Prabhupada said in the purport. They're not for show. The significance, they're sending a message. Just like I mentioned in the class, in the earlier as I was discussing on the topic earlier on, like Maharaj Yudhishthira gave us this importance of signs and symptoms earlier in the chapters of this canto. Everything that is within the creation of the Lord has its significance. Even our present material body has its own significance. And when they manifest before each and every one of us, they have what it means. Now, the difference is whether we know them or we do not know them. The difference between the modern civilization, modern men in modern civilization is that we have lost touch with the ancient wisdom, which explains all of these signs. Otherwise, there is nothing that happens by chance. The philosophy of chance is for those who are ignorant. Actually, when the moment somebody says something happens by chance, it simply expresses himself to be an ignorant person. Because everything is preceded by something. An automatic door does not just open by itself. Someone has manufactured a gadget, and by pressing on the button, the door opens. But because we do not see the button, we see the door. We say the door is automatic. But there is a precedence. In the same way, even though we are so much caged in this material body, Lord Krishna gives everything that he has put into creation to prepare us for eventual experiences that we have. Now, whether one is equipped in knowledge or is not equipped in knowledge is what makes the difference. For an example, when we wake up in the morning on our bed, those who are experts, depending on which side of the body they wake up, knows what is that day is going to be like. When we are in a sleeping state, we can't control. Even when we sleep on our back, when we're sleeping, or we sleep on our chest, or we sleep on our side, right or left side, by the time we wake up, or during the sleeping process, we don't determine which part of the body we find ourselves. Nature is arranging. And as we wake up, that which comes to our mind first has its significance. But the difficulty is that because modern man, due to the gross covering of material nature that has put us under the lowest level of consciousness, which is Anmaya, it makes us not to be able to see the reality even when they are present before us. So Maharaj Arjuna's chariot, which was driven by us by according to Vedic astrology, signifies devotion. like I mentioned in the beginning, when you see white horse, it signifies devotion. And you see in the ancient times, even in the little previous years back, when you see royal fathers, they ride on white horses because it signifies one, because a king, a righteous king, must be devoted to God. And that is why they are called Raja Rishis. So a white horse signifies devotion. According to Vedic astrology, when you see a white horse, it expresses, it symbolizes endurance. It symbolizes tolerance. That is the symptoms. These are the significance or the symbolic expression of white horse. So if we, even in our condition state, see in our dreams horses, or we go on a journey for a particular purpose, and the first thing we see is a white horse, it expresses that that thing is going to end in those symptoms that it carries. But a black horse signifies failure and success simultaneously. In other words, it means that when you see a black horse means that there's going to be a catastrophe, there's going to be a big problem. But because it is a horse, because as a horse in itself has its significance, horse by its own nature alone signifies victory. But what the victory will be is determined by the color of the horse. Whether it's going to be a smooth victory, a challenging victory, and all of that, it depends on the color of the horse. So they have a significance. According to Vedic astrology, those who are expert in this, they have explained that these horses they have. And that is why when you want to do Rajasuya sacrifice, they will say, bring horses of this nature, of this quality, of this sign, of this and this, because they know what they symbolizes. And for the flag, like the Prabhupada explained himself, the horse, and in the text itself, it is mentioned directly. When we look at the text of today, the word Mrijendra, Dwajam, when you check the synonyms of that word, Dwajam, the word Mrijendra is signifying the personality that is in that flag. So Srila Prabhupada explained in one of his lectures that this horse is actually talking about Mrijendra himself, this personality of God. Is talking about Nara Hari, or is any other name, because Mrijendra or Nara Hari or Nisima Dev, the same personality who has appeared in different manifestations, but is signifying the Lord sitting on the flag. So just like in our modern times, the flag of a nation tells what that nation is. What is the focus of that nation? In Nigerian flag, for example, it is showing, even though that is being deviated from, but the flag design, it carries a motive. When you use green and white, it signifies nature and peace. When we want to do peace celebration, we carry white dove. What has peace has to do with dove? Because it carries a significance. These particular different entities, just like when you see a human being, even a human being, when you see ordinary human being, when you see a Brahmana, you wake up in the morning and see a Brahmana, or you wake up in the morning and you see a madman. There are two different experiences you get. You may or may not take cognizance, but they will manifest. In the previous session, when my register was talking, he said he woke up, he sees the cow coming from the left-hand side. They have a significance. So the Lord has expanded himself, his knowledge in all of his creation. But depending on our level of in-depth of study or knowledge of God and his creation, we can understand this. So the horse and the flag of Arjun signifies the Arjun's experience. Like I said in the lecture, Arjun fought the battlefield of Kurukshetra and he was successful. But Maharaj Parikshit, when he went out, he met with death sentence, whatever be the circumstances. But that death sentence became glorious because at the end, he took the right step, which is the title of the text chapter we're reading. He took it in the right mood, and that is what led to his victory, which is ultimately attaining the lotus feet of the Lord. So they have significance. So the Hanuman on Arjun's flag signifies success, signifies invisibility. It signifies victory. These are some of the symbolic meaning of Hanuman on the flag of Arjun. And for Maharaj Parikshit, the lion signifies the Lord himself, because that flag, like Papa said, it's not just ordinary lion, it's Lord Nrsimhadev himself. It's signifying protection. Even though Maharaj Parikshit was going to go through challenges, but because the Lord is always protecting him, his Lord is his protector. So the Lord is standing on his flag.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the answer, Prabhuji. Anyone else? Well, you were saying that someone also wants to chastise you. Now you have to be careful what you say. Because if the chastisements start to flow, you may be finding a way to disappear from this screen. So don't invite it.
Thank you.
You are not supposed to be chastised. You are the speaker. I have a question again. My question is, I am thinking, just like the great sages were asking Maharaj Parikshit, when he first saw Kali brutalizing the cow and the bull, and says, is this all you could do? You could have done something else. You could have killed him. Of course, we accept that Krishna wanted it to happen that way. But I'm seeing it that for us as ordinary devotees or people in general, if there is a situation that can be gotten rid of, and we do not get rid of it, and we try to see how we can make it better or try to work things out, then it may turn out to be a big catastrophe for us, just as we are suffering in this age of Kali now. So Maharaj Parikshit, he did not kill the personality of Kali. And now he's setting, that is what we just read. He's going all over the world to conquer this Kali. You know, there is one book, a war book I once read, it says, an impression that could have been overcome with ease now has to be fought in a very, very gruesome battle. So we know what he is going to do. He is going to try to fight Kali, but do we know how? How did Maharaj Parikshit attempt conquering Kali? Was it through Harinam Sankirtan or throwing out all liquor bars, or throwing out all brothels, throwing out all slaughtering houses? How? If perchance you are aware about how Maharaj Parikshit set out to go conquer Kali. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. In the same canto that we're reading, when we go further, we'll read. Srila Prabhupada explained that what Maharaj Parikshit did. There are four activities which are not supposed to be in a normal society, just like you rightly mentioned. In the ancient time, it's not like people don't take alcohol. People even have a way of devising using rice to prepare alcohol and drink, but it's not a public thing. So these activities of a massive opening, allowance of beer parlors and liquor houses all over the world, which are what places Mother Parishi drove Kali to stay. Because we remember the story, Mother Kali was coming to do her duty because it was a time to appear, and then according to the Lord's arrangement, the Lord's activities cannot be checked. And it is the Lord's pastime that the age of Kali, according to the 4 rotational cycle rotation of the age, the age of Kali has to appear. So Mother Parishit, when Kali was to be killed, he said, no, I'm doing my duty. Why? You cannot kill me because I'm doing my duty. And he gave him the brutal, the place of alcohol or beer parlor or wherever cow killing is going on, to stay in all of those places. So Prabhupada, when he speaks on this particular topic, Prabhupada will always emphasize the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That it is not that a devotee who cannot be violent. And Prabhupada will always give an example. Arjuna wasn't going to fight, but there was a necessity to fight. In the same way, in Kali Yuga, there are so many nonsensical things going on. And sometimes devotee, we want to say we are non-violent. But non-violence is not condemned in Vedic tradition. The only thing is that one has to fight in the mood of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave us the way to fight Kali. And Prabhupada will always quote that 11, SRIMAD Bhagavatam 11 Canto chapter 5, text number 32. I think if I can get that verse out here. Prabhupada often quote that verse to describe how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna Vanam Twisa Krishnam, Sango Pastra Pashadam, Yajne Sankitana Praye, Yajanti E Sumeda Sa. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came. It's not like he wasn't killing. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went all over India, and by extension came to the West through Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. He came to America through Srila Prabhupada, and the followers of Srila Prabhupada are spreading all over the planet, killing Kali and his agencies. But it is not by carrying sword, because in Kali Yuga, as this being described, people of low quality, less intelligent. And the way to fight is to spread the Sankirtan movement. And how to do this? The acharyas have given us the process. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established it, and Srila Prabhupada expanded on it. And our present acharyas I remember one initiation, I think it was in, was it 1997 or so? Was it 95 or 94, 1994, it's initiation in Nigeria. We had an initiation, there was one devotee, I won't mention names, but those who are familiar with the situation, when I narrate the story, they will remember. There is this devotee. He came into the movement, and he was in the movement for several years. And his goal was to become a Brahmana. So he was waiting. He was serving very nicely. He took first initiation. He continued serving very nicely. He was a Packer devotee. He was doing a lot of book distributions, but he was waiting for the day he was going to become a Brahmana. And I think that was in 1994. If it's not 94, then it will be 1997 initiation, but I think it's 1994. And immediately we had the initiation in Benin. 94, 90, it's not 94, it will be 97, but I think it's 94. So we had the initiation ceremony in Benin anyway. And when we had the initiation, immediately we finished the initiation ceremony, this devotee was given it Brahmanical initiation. And immediately he collected his Brahmin trace. He was pronounced a Brahmana. He left the temple and went into the town and started drinking like mad. He was drinking like going to die. He drank, he created, he went to the hotel and engaged in all kinds of, he slept with the prostitute, drank till the following day. We finished the ceremony and we went to Lagos. We were in Jayola at that time. As like somebody also went, we all went. As we arrived in Lagos, he didn't stop that activities in Benin. He came to Lagos drunk like that. He was still very drunk. And he came into the front of the temple, he started shouting, he raising his hand. I'm a Brahmana now, I will do everything. And he was shouting. Srila Krishna was inside. And what did Srila Krishna did when he saw him, Krishna came out from his room and he saw him, he just went back inside. Blessed memory, Mother Madhurya Lila. You know, very hefty. He said, Madhurya, arrest that rascal. And when he arrested him, he said, what should I do? He said, take him to the toilet. And he took him into the toilet in Lagos. He said, shave his sika, remove the Brahmanic thread from him, cut his neck bead, and throw him outside. He's no longer connected to the parampara. So he was sent away. And that was the last of that devotee. I've not seen him around since that time. So such a person, there are so many ways the spiritual master will have dealt with him for such an activity. But what did he do? Just like Lord Krishna did to Rukmi, his brother-in-law. So Krishna said he should shave his head, to remove his neck beard, remove the devotee emblems that are around him, throw him outside. So in this way, he was killed, but he was not physically killed. So in Kali Yuga, those who are with demoniac tendencies are to be killed. And when Prabhupada was giving lecture on this particular verse, he was explaining that we should go all over the world. We should kill all of the demons in Kali Yuga, but not by carrying sword, but by giving SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM into each and every home and villages, by giving the Sankirtan movement. And by doing this, we will directly, indirectly be killing all the demoniac personalities or demoniac tendencies or persons that are in the age of Kali. And then one devotee asked, to round up the question, answer to the question, one devotee asked I think Bhaktivinoda Maharaj asked that question. That has Gurudev. So how do we deal with people who have these demoniac tendencies? And sometimes we are saying we should not associate with them, but then we are asked to preach. So how do we do it? We don't want to associate with them, but we have to preach to them. We say we are said to preach to them. We cannot kill them. So Bhaktivinoda Maharaj explained that, yes, we have to avoid by all means those who are demoniac tendencies or those who are materialistic people. But we can give them the books, because just by touching the books, even when they don't read it, they may not immediately be rectified, but their journey for rectification starts at that moment. So this is the way that is recommended by our acharyas to kill the influence of the age of Kali.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Shri Kavikanapur Prabhu, please unmute.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you very much, Salika Prabhu. Although I came very late, please forgive me.
It's okay, you're welcome.
Yes, my question is regarding the signs and wonders and normally they call it superstition. that you were mentioning about. So, as a devotee, what is the significance of superstition in our life? You know, because if you look in Krishna book, also Prabhupada mentioned about some of them, like in Krishna book where Kamsa started seeing some bad omens, just like you rightly talk about Judicial already mentioned some of them also. But in case of Kamsa, he was looking in the mirror, he would not see his head. He will look at the ground, he would not see his shadow. And all those, those are some bad symptoms, bad superstition. Prabhupada also mentioned about the one like, if like say for example, now you want to go out and there's empty bucket in front of your door. Whatever you are going for that day, you know, it may not be successful, but in order to convert or to pervert that, you must always consciously put some full bucket of water in front of your door before you go out. So some of these superstitions are there. So what is the connection of this superstition and Bhakti? What is the role of superstition in Bhakti? That is my question. But before that, I wanted to quickly comment about the man, the devotee of 80s who collected Brahmana and went to drink. Maybe the Prabhu was trying to reward himself. Number one, maybe he was trying to reward himself. He was trying to celebrate that he has collected Brahmana. Or number two, maybe he was trying to see what will happen to him as a Brahmana if he is breaking all the principles.
I'm happy his Grace Sriman Vara Acharya Prabhu is here. I'm very sure he will be laughing now because I knew he was around that time. So at least I can see one person is there. Prabhu was there at that time. So I know you will remember that case I'm talking about. Well, whatever be the case, thank you very much for your comment. Whatever be the case, whatever his intention was, the fact was that intention was not for the purpose of being a devotee, which is to please the Lord. Like I said, depending on the level of individual consciousness, one acts in a particular way. So that devotee's consciousness was obviously not for the purpose of pleasing Krishna. Like I explained earlier, maybe you were not come that time, there are 5 levels of consciousness explained by Srila Bhaktivinoda, from Anmaya to the topmost level of Ananda Maya. So people who are on that level of consciousness, sometimes I'll share with you that also one of the things that attracted me to Krishna consciousness also was because I wanted to become a Brahmin. Because when I read about the qualities of the Brahmins of India, I was a prophet. And then when I was making the research on who God is actually, because of certain things that was happening at that time. So I was reading. And when I read a book talking about the Brahmins of India, I was very attracted to being a Brahmana, the qualities of Brahmana. So when I came into devotional service, my goal was to become a qualified Brahmana. I want to attain that quality of the 12 qualities of a Brahmin. So, but then when I came into Krishna consciousness, I realized that being a Brahmana is not the ultimate thing. The ultimate thing is to become a Vaishnava. So I relinquished that desire. But there are some people who naturally, that is what Prabhupada said also in the purport, that it is based on the level of the sincerity. Sometimes we come into devotional environment with a kind of level of material desires. We see it happening over and over. It's not just in our time. When we look at the story of Dhruva Maharaj was looking for the kingdom. But when we met with the Lord, his desire changed. He said, my Lord, I do not, before meeting you, I was looking for broken bottles. I don't want it again. So, but sometimes the Lord still fulfills those desires, but then gives you the ultimate thing. Just like in this same canto, in the next canto, second canto, it is said that akarma sava kama uva muksha kama udara tifrina bhakti yujana yajita champaran. That is, whatever one desires, one should at least approach Krishna. If you approach Krishna, Krishna will give. But if it's so sincere, like the acharyas have explained, once that desire, that material desire can be purified, and once start developing affinition, attraction for the Supreme Personality of God, because the Supreme Personality of God is all attractive. So whatever that devotee's desire was that he wants to become a Brahmin. And he attained it, and he was celebrating it in that way. And he went agog, and it was dealt with accordingly. But back to your question about is the significance of signs or omens in Bhakti. They're very important. And I tell you, Prabhu, if we are able to study and know these symbols, they are very helpful. Just like Prabhupada will say, we don't need astrology in Krishna consciousness. But if we know them, if we have them, they help because they guide us in taking certain decisions that are critical in our lives. But a devotee should not strive for them separately outside of the process of, because Bhakti produces Bhakti. And Bhakti is the ultimate goal of existence. So if one, by dint of previous karma, because each and every living entity is presently is a manifestation of what he is in his previous life and what he has acquired. Some people ask a talent. Just as I'm talking to you, if certain things is going to happen inauspicious, immediately, few minutes before that, I will start seeing signs. I will start seeing signs, and immediately I will know something inauspicious is about to happen. If someone starts talking about me positively somewhere, I have a symptom. I will see the symptom. I will know. Even if people are around me, those who are working with me, they know this. All of a sudden, I will just say, something wrong is going on. If somebody is talking something bad about me somewhere, and before you know it, we'll get to realize that it's happening. So if you have the opportunity or the talent based on previous karma to know those things or to be able to study and learn it, it is okay, it's wonderful. But there could be a distraction when it comes to Bhakti. Because your question is, what is the significance in Bhakti? If they are known, if they have them, they can be utilized in our execution of day-to-day activities in Krishna consciousness. But if we do not know them, based on devotional principles, we should not strive for them because they could become a distraction in our ultimate attainment of Krishna consciousness. Shukadev Goswami mentioned in this same chapter, in the next chapter, in the chapter 19, I think, that everything that one wants is already invested. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also confirms that. Nam nam akari bauja nija sarvasaktis tatra pita niyamita smaranena akala eta dusitava kripa bhagavan mama pi dudaivam isam yajani yananuraga. Number 2 stanza of the Shastakam. The Lord has invested everything. He didn't say something. The Lord has invested everything that we need in the holy name. The only problem is that we have no attraction for chanting the name. So for a devotee, symptoms, omens are very good if we know them, but they should not be our focus. They should not be our distraction. We should not even strive for them because they will occupy our time that we could use in perfecting our chanting the holy name. If there's anything a devotee should strive for, apart from the basic needs of maintaining the body, is to strive to perfect the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. That is our primary goal, because the day we perfected the chanting of the Krishna name, we will see everything manifest. We see that the pure devotees of the Lord, all of these qualities of the demigods, they manifest in them. And we can see that even in our present acharyas, we see that some of them, the kind of quality they exhibit, even when they join devotional service, they never had those qualities that we, from their life experiences we've read and had. They necessarily don't have those qualities. But because of bhakti, because of devotion, they develop those qualities naturally. So for a devotee, if we really are wanting to know beyond the know, then we should increase our passion for chanting the holy name, because once our holy name, to the degree we become perfected in the chanting of the holy name, to that degree, most of these qualities will manifest in us. We'll start seeing them naturally. They will start manifesting. We'll start seeing things beyond our capacity. Krishna will come. We read so many stories of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri, Krishna was relating with him just like you and I will relate with each other. So, and we've read so many stories of devotees like that. When we become advanced in devotional service, Krishna personally will reveal himself to us, what is necessary for us to see, what is necessary for us to know. So we should not be worried about whether we know the omens or we don't know the omens. If we know them, fine, fantastic. But if we don't know them, it also doesn't matter, because the holy name takes care of everything.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for the explanation. And like you rightly mentioned in the beginning, before you started answering the question about devotee coming with different desire. Although it's my own observation, I don't know, is woman error also may be there. But when I joined devotional service, when I came to devotional service, when I was very small, although I was not having any desire because I was very small that time. I've not even finished I just finished my secondary school. So there was no so much material desire at that time. But what I observe, what I perceive in devotional service that time was so many of our senior devotees, one of their major desires is to become sciencey, to become science. And I saw that affected us a lot in the moving forward in devotional service, because many of them who could not achieve that aim, instead of them to continue to preach in the next ashram, they slide back, and it affected us a lot until the philosophy now changed and people begin to adjust gradually. So that was my own observation, Sha. I don't know. You can say something about that. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you very much, Kavikan Prabhu. That was a realistic observation. Oftentimes when I speak, I explain this, that with the little experience over the 3 decades we have been in this movement, we've seen that the Krishna consciousness philosophy, as we know it when we joined, is not the way we know it now, because there was so much of misrepresentation. I use the 2 words. It's not just being used. I use them with the full meaning of the 2 words: misrepresentation and mispresentation. They are 2 different words, but they mean 2 deep things. The misrepresentation means that those people that you were talking about, they were representing the philosophy in a very absurd way, outside of what the philosophy itself is. And they are misrepresenting, they are mispresenting it also, because if only by their natural life, like you rightly observe, if just by their activities they are pursuing, it will have been something, it will have been misrepresentation. But they were also mispresenting it also, because they were constantly making us to feel that the goal is different from what the goal of Krishna consciousness is supposed to be. The goal of Bhakti or Krishna consciousness is to become a devotee to please the Lord. But from what most of this class of persons, that is not to say that it's all of them, but majority of those then, what they were presenting as philosophy then was something awkward, because probably maybe they do not also understand, maybe because of their own personal weaknesses or whatever it is, but they were mispresenting the philosophy, and this affected themselves. It affected so many people who joined, and that affected the growth of the movement in our yatra. But like Krishna Prabhu will always say, if our intent, and Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that, that's why I love that. I love that purport of Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, verse 10, where the Lord says that based on our sincere desire, sincerity of purpose, if even when there is a mispresentation, if we ourselves are individually sincere in our heart, we can still attain the goal of Bhakti, because Krishna will come in between. And that is why Krishna says in the next verse to that verse, Tesham Ivanu Kampantam Ab Agyanam Jantaman Nasami Atma Bhavasto Gyana Dipe Na Abaswata, that I, who is residing in the region of the earth, I will come through within the region of the art because I'm there. I can see the art and based on the sincerity of the individual. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is that even though there was so much of misrepresentation and mispresentation, that wasn't the obstacle for anyone not to become a devotee. Because if individual desires was right, Krishna's promise never fails. Krishna will still find a way, just like you and me are still here today. Many did not survive. And it is as a result of their level of sincerity. But you and I, we may not have become, I personally, I know that I'm not yet a pure devotee, but somehow or the other, my faith in Krishna consciousness has not shaken because Krishna is protecting me. Even though I may have so much of this Maya going on, but because I was sincere in my desire to get, my sincerity was to get Krishna. Krishna is pulling me along. And I'm having confidence that someday, in this body or in another body, whatever Krishna's time is desired, I know that this bhakti, this pure love of God, I will experience it.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. I think
Hare Krishna.
that was a very beautiful question and a beautiful answer. That question from Kavi Kanapur Prabhu. Kavi Kanapur Prabhu is known for asking very, very tough questions. And your answer to him is really good, at least in my own little view. So at this point, I think we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute so that we can formally bring the class to a close. So we're going to ask all the devotees to kindly unmute, and then we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to our speaker. Jai Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Hare.
Salika